Hello, you beautiful people. Let's talk about how cats evolved. Now we have to start with some of the most ancient mammalian predators to ever exist, called myocyds. These little weasel-like predators eventually evolved into the animals we know and love today. After a lot of time of evolving and growing, mammalian carnivores diverged into two main groups: Caniformia and Feliformia. Caniformia includes things like dogs, bears, weasels, seals and sea lions, and everything in between. Feliformia includes cats, civets, and hyenas. How does that work, you ask? Well, there are always exceptions in nature. That's all I can say. Caniformia is characterized by more generalized predators with oftentimes an emphasis on the sense of smell, while Feliformia usually produces more specialized predators, and these predators usually rely on their sight much more. Now, one of the first true cats was
Prolurus.
It first appeared about 25 million years ago. It was most likely an arboreal animal, and it lived alongside things like early apes and Dinotherium, which was an elephant-like thing that looks like it belongs in Star Wars.
Side note!
Another interesting thing about Caniformia and Feliformia is that Caniformia has a lot more omnivorous animals, whereas Feliformia usually has strictly carnivorous animals. Even early caniforms, like early bears, were most likely omnivores. Now, after the first cats appeared, it was followed by an extremely strange time in the evolutionary history of cats called the Cat Gap. This is a time period when very few fossils were found of cats, especially from North America. This could be due to the rapidly changing habitats that the cats inhabited, and they most likely had a pretty hard time. However, this all changed with the legend
Pseudilurus.
This guy is the ancestor of all three subfamilies of cats: Pantherinae, Feline, and Machairodontinae. For Feline, some modern members are things like cheetahs, mountain lions, and our very own house cats. For Pantherinae, it is things like lions, tigers, jaguars, leopards, and snow leopards. And as for Machairodontinae, they are all extinct, but we'll talk about that later. So these three groups evolved alongside each other and lived alongside each other just like they do today, except for Machairodontinae because they're all dead. Now, all of these groups started truly distinguishing themselves from each other around 15 to 10 million years ago. One of the first members of Machairodontinae is thought to have appeared around this time. This was the Primogenitarian, a leopard-sized cat that lived in Europe and Asia. What was strange about this cat is that it had ridiculously long fangs. This was one of the first true saber-toothed cats. Around the same time, some primitive members of the Pantherinae subfamily were wandering around, but it wasn't until about 5 million years ago until the first true members of this subfamily appeared. Panthera blythiae, which is thought to be the direct ancestor to the snow leopard, which is kind of funny considering the snow leopard is the only member of the Pantherinae family that can't actually roar, which is a very big part of their classification. But hey, as I said, there are always exceptions in nature. Now again, with the last group, Feline. They also spent a long time evolving, with the first true members of Feline only appearing around 3 million years ago. This was the Felis lunensis.
Side note!
Feline is associated with cats that can purr, much like how Pantherinae is associated with cats that can roar. But what is the actual purpose of this very strange ability? Well, it has two pretty big purposes. One being that it lowers the stress level of the cat after possibly a very stressful confrontation or little boxing duel it had with possibly another cat. But the more important function is thought to be that it allows mothers and kittens to communicate in a way that is quiet and doesn't draw attention to them. Getting back to the evolution of cats, around 2.5 million years ago, the famous Smilodon appeared. Now, there are actually multiple species within the Smilodon genus. The smallest one was Smilodon gracilis, which could only reach weights of up to 100 kilograms, while the largest, Smilodon populator, could reach weights of up to 400 kilograms or even more than that. These guys were found all over the Americas and most likely hunted the megafauna that was abundant at the time. This obviously made them an apex predator, but I'm pretty sure that none of us are really surprised by this fact. Around the same time in East Asia, the first tigers began to appear, and in America, the American cheetah, which might have been even faster than its modern day counterpart. It's kind of strange that the second fastest animal living today, the pronghorn antelope, doesn't live anywhere near the cheetah. It lives in North America. It seems like complete overkill that it can run up to 88 kilometers per hour. No predator in North America can reach near those speeds. But you see, up until around 10,000 years ago, it wasn't overkill. It was necessary to get away from possibly the fastest land mammal to ever exist. Also, around the same time that Smilodons, tigers, and American cheetahs started roaming all over the place, there was a smaller cat by the nickname of the European jaguar. Now, the scientific name of this guy was the Gomba soagensis. Wait, Gomba? This thing was discovered in Hungary. And this was one of the first cats to spread into Europe. Around 500,000 years ago, the famous cave lions could be found all the way from Spain to Alaska. And all over North America, sometime later, American lions started to appear, which are possibly the largest big cat to ever exist, being around 25% larger than modern African lions. About 10,000 years ago, many big cats in many parts of the world started going extinct. Mostly in America. All members of the group Machairodontinae were wiped out, probably due to competition from other predators wiping out the megafauna they relied on. Today, lions, cheetahs, and leopards can be found in Africa. Leopards can also be found in Asia, along with the mighty tigers. South America is home to the elusive but ruthless jaguar, and the mountain lion can be found all over the Americas. Lynx and bobcats live across the northern parts of the world. And then, of course, there are our own little house cats that now live everywhere in the world thanks to us, even where they should definitely not be living. And they have turned out to be the most devastating invasive species living today. Anyways, that was a brief video on cat evolution. Bye bye.